The death penalty continues to be banned in more and more states, but mainstream media doesn't really mention it very much. I'm curious why, but first let's talk about the situation today. So a couple of different things going on. The big news in the last few days has been that the prosecution in the Batman theater shooter James Holmes case will be seeking the death penalty. Whether or not that will stick, we don't know, but that is what was initially said. The Maryland House of Delegates voted just a few days ago to repeal the death penalty in Maryland, which sends the proposal to the governor there, Martin O'Malley, who plans to sign it into law, which would make Maryland the 18th state to abolish capital punishment. And the state Senate in Delaware also approved a bill that would also end the death penalty in Delaware. So let's look at where we are today, Lewis. And we have the map up for people here. Washington, D.C., and the following 18 states don't enforce the death penalty currently: Alaska, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Why is the mainstream media not particularly interested in a discussion of the death penalty? I think it's a huge issue. I think it's important not only based on the number of people who could be subject to be put to death by the state, by the government, but also because it really is one of these kind of not a litmus test, but kind of a sign of the times in terms of where is our thinking on some fundamental social issues, knowing that just about every country at the level of development that the U.S. finds itself at has already outlawed the death penalty. Why doesn't the media care about this?
It seems like they mention it in passing,
right,
along with other 5-second headlines that as something noteworthy, but there is no discussion about it. And I can't figure out why. I mean, it doesn't seem like one of those issues that is so polarized that they're afraid of being marked as liberally biased or conservatively
just
biased.
By saying that this happened.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very polarizing issue, but you're right. Simply reporting that something happened it's not as polarizing. A couple things, but I want to get Natan's thoughts, but I asked about this on our Facebook page. Tim wrote, he says, because so many Americans are obsessed with death and mistake retribution for justice. I don't know that I agree with that. The implication there is that because a lot of Americans want the death penalty, the media doesn't report on it. I disagree. The media reports on controversial issues all the time. Right. Ryan says the media doesn't want to take the attention off of gun control. The death penalty is another hot issue, and they don't have room for both. It's unfortunate. So the argument that right now gun control is the issue, even though I don't know that the media can't cover two things at once. Natan, what's your reaction? Why do you think this is being ignored?
I can't think of a reason. I mean, certainly it could just be that the media is choosing the stories that it puts on, and this is one of those that, no one is pushing them to cover. Therefore, it doesn't get covered. It's certainly, you could imagine the last 4 months of coverage not being focused on gay marriage and being focused on the death penalty. I mean, it easily could have been that way. I think the fact that it isn't doesn't necessarily mean that someone is conspiring to have it not be discussed or anything like that.
It seems like the only time the media actually covers it is when there is one particular person in question who is about to be killed.
Or a trial like James Holmes where the death penalty will be sought.
Right. So the last time that might have been Troy Davis or something along the lines of that. And that's when we see attention, or when there's, in general, when there's a large public outcry.
I mean, even when we've had stories covered in the independent media outlets that talk about people put to death by the death penalty incorrectly or people narrowly saved, even those stories barely break into mainstream corporate media in any significant way.
Yeah, it's strange.
And it really is a sign of the progressivization of, at least on the social side in the U.S. of society.